Loud.
All right, so this is going to be a participation event. I'm sorry. I know some of y'all hate that, but I am a teacher that likes to teach this way. So here we go. My presentation tonight is about using the power of your voice. And we all have power in I'm going to say great because are these great United States. Um, a fabric of people like all of us that are on this Zoom. So never underestimate that power. And you guys have power. I've always have said that your vote is your superpower in this country, and your voice is your superpower. So a little bit about myself. I'm from St. Louis. I live in the city. I am the co-director of the Missouri Equity Education Partnership. I am a former public school teacher. I taught science in middle school. I am a former campaign manager for a congressional candidate, and that cycle ended in November. Unfortunately, we did not beat Ann Wagner. I am a certified human rights consultant and community organizer, activist, and advocate. Um, so today we're going to do an icebreaker. What is activism? Pathways to change, effective communication, how to testify, um, how to take action, and then we're going to close with some questions and answers. So, um, what's one issue you're passionate about? And I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to think about that. Everybody has that one particular thing. So think about it. And I want you to share. And I'm going to start with Alicia as she is the group leader. I'm going to let her share first, and then she will popcorn and call the next person, and then that person will call someone else until everybody is done. Alicia?
Probably lately native gardening and sort of all of the ripple effect from that, right? Like we need pollinators to pollinate our food so that we can eat. The native plants are better for the environment in terms of water consumption, in terms of climate change, in terms of insects, which the birds eat, which also pollinate. So native gardening has really kind of become my passion project. Yeah. And also gives me more peace than some other things that I am passionate about.
Will you call on someone next?
Stacy?
There we go. I am the first thing that came to mind was bodily autonomy. Just the fact that like you're in charge of your own body, and all of goes outward from that. And oh yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to only do one. Because Alicia has also gotten me into native plants and all that also. But anyway, bouncing off to Sarah.
I'm going to assume I might be the only Sarah here today. There's lots of us. I would say abortion access is something I'm passionate about. I started volunteering at the Hope Clinic in August as a clinic escort, and I'd always been passionate about it, but it's grown since then. And I will go with Cindy.
So this is kind of a hard question because, I do native, I have a garden and just kind of learning on my own. I have a lot of native plants, and last year I had a bunch of bumblebees and bees, and I thought, oh, I have a pollinator garden, right? Kind of happened by accident, I think. Also the abortion issue, I was 17 when Roe versus Wade came into being, and, it's been here my whole life, and, and women are dying and people don't seem to really care. And, but I also like just with the election of Trump and, and just, what's been happening since, I'm really passionate about that. And I don't really know like where to put my energy, so I have passion to do something. So I guess that's my passion. So So anyway, I got invited to the community building group. I really like the whole idea. I don't want to be on Facebook, and I kind of didn't want to get on Facebook, but I thought, well, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what people are doing. So I guess I'm passionate about, maybe getting in a community, working with people who are like minded and doing, activism in ways that, can be beneficial for all of us in the end, because very passionate about DEI, I mean, it's just like atrocious what's happening with that. So anyway, okay, let's see, Beth?
Um, I I am a professional counselor, and so mental health is a really big thing. Specifically, though, helping people to understand their agency, and that regardless of how little power they think they have, there is some power, and being able to really acknowledge when there are systems at play, right? So being able to empower people, so they feel like, yeah, I have a choice. And also, when I don't feel like I have a choice, it might not be me, it might be the systems that I am trying to exist within. And so that's something I do a lot in my work, and also in my own personal therapy, of being able to recognize, oh yeah, where do I have choice and where can I have access to that, and supporting other people to be able to honor that for themselves, and really like own it. Kate.
Hello, I'm Kate. Lately, I've been very much passionate about healthcare, or the lack thereof that we have in this country. As a person with a chronic illness and a disabled child, I'm appalled on like a daily basis at the amount that you have to like become an expert about insurance and about your own medical conditions, in the way that the doctors are not trusted by the insurance companies, and the way that things are included and then not included, and then covered and then not covered, and then pre-authorized, and then oops, nope, it's not anymore, and you get a bill later. Like the amount of like time and effort spent trying to just access healthcare without bankrupting yourself is ludicrous. So I've been doing a lot of complaining to our Congress people about that, and have volunteered with a couple organizations helping lower income people access Medicaid. When I had to sign my son up for Medicaid, the paperwork and the amount of time I had to spend on the phone to get him qualified, even though he is actually disabled, was something I could see would be a total barrier for most people who work full time. Lots of other things, but healthcare is the one that's really pissing me off lately. Who hasn't gone yet? Austin?
I just wanted to speak for him. I saw in the chat, he says that, sorry. She said that she is not able to speak right now, but is able to listen, is in the chat.
How about,
Did I miss that? I logged in a few minutes late, so I don't know who all has gone yet.
Yeah, no, it's
Um,
I'm
just, how
sorry.
about-
I'm sorry. I can talk now. I I had to hole myself up in a room, so sorry about that. Yeah, I'm Austin. That's really not funny that you chose me after talking about healthcare, because I am a healthcare provider. I have been a physical therapist for almost 15 years, and I do home health. I go in and out of people's homes. So inequity, and honestly, most of it boils down to racism when we're talking about inequity in healthcare. Let's be honest. This country will never have nice things until we atone for the many transgressions of our ancestors. But and that really, oh my God, I see that in healthcare every single day. So what I'm really passionate about is DEI. In fact, the company I work for, I am actually on the corporate DEI council that we overwhelmingly requested on these quarterly surveys that we do every year back in like 2020, and it was enacted. We were hand picked by like C-suite people in this company of like 20,000 people. And we have done all this work, but then the last year and a half, things have really kind of fizzled out because C-suite doesn't know what to do, how much more money and time can they put into it. Even though the company overwhelmingly asked for it and all the workers said we want this, and corporate was on board. So what I'm really, before I go off on a tangent, what I'm really compassionate about is not complying with what higher ups tell me to do. I went to Catholic school almost all my life. I was this close to going in the military, but I didn't, because I don't take orders, but I do a really good job at what I do. And I, for years, have been sowing seeds of teaching my coworkers to resist all the micromanaging crap that for-profit healthcare is trying to stuff down our throats. I'll just stop there while I'm ahead of myself.
You want to pick the next person?
Oh yeah. I'm trying. Who hasn't gone yet? Has
I think
Rusty?
Matt.
You haven't
Yep, Rusty,
gone
Matt.
yet? Okay. How about Rusty?
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here. This book is very timely for the time we're in. And what I'm passionate about is politics. And Amber and I started out the day in a meeting, and it's been going on all day long. We've been communicating all day long. So I am a political organizer and activist, and I run an admin for two pretty decent sized groups on Facebook. But I am a co-leader of a group called Conversations for Political Change, and we started this group about 5 years ago during COVID, and it was an election year, 2020, and because of COVID, I retired as an adjunct professor, and I knew how to use Zoom, and nobody else did it at that particular time because I started teaching my last semester on Zoom during the middle of COVID, and so anyway, we were successful in electing a different president, and but this one has come back to haunt us again. And so I had hoped I would be retiring from politics come January, but I just can't get out of it because of what's going on. So I'm in this group called Conversations for Political Change. We actually today organized a big protest. I'll let you guys all know about it later on if you're interested. We're President's Day protest. So Amber is part of that. And so I'm a political organizer. So that's what I do. And that's what I'm passionate about. So I'll go to the next person, which I believe is the last person. Would that be Matt?
Yeah, well, I think the Oteria hasn't gone yet as well, but I'm happy to go right now. I'm obviously, as if with everybody, I'm very passionate about a lot of different things. I guess like one of the things that I'm almost always passionate about is my kids, and one of them is trans. So obviously, with like today's political environment, it's very hard for them. So supporting them is very important to me and my wife, making sure that they have the support and the tools that they need to survive into today's atmosphere. In a more lighthearted sense, I mean, I guess like one thing I'm passionate are starting to get passionate about is that we're buying some beekeeping things. So we really like to like start like so we're starting like a beekeeping hive in our backyard. So we're very interested in getting to or being able to like get our bees going now. Like right now, it's really hard to even think about bees. But since living in Kansas City, we have 8 inches of snow in the backyard right now. but we're hoping come March or April we'll start getting the beehive put together. Thank you. I guess Oteria, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm very apologetic if I'm doing it wrong.
Well, Matt, I am very impressed. Oteria is my partner, so I'm masquerading as her today. My name's Amy, but you pronounced
Oh.
it just right, so hooray. Um, I guess the thing that I'm really passionate about is women's healthcare. Especially like around postpartum and now that I'm getting into that lovely age of menopause. Just being gaslit by doctors who don't understand what you're going through. And so I'm really passionate about support groups for postpartum women and women going through all kinds of hormonal fun changes. So I can kind of jump on the healthcare bandwagon with everyone else.
So I was going to ask you guys what were the common themes among the group, but I'm going to ask you to check me. So what I heard was that your common themes are people, care, the environment, and making sure that people have access to the resources that they need. Is there anything else that you would like to add that was a common theme around your passions?
I would
Going
like
once.
to add that I'm
Yes.
extremely disturbed also by the cuts in funding to just science and research in general today and yesterday. And discouragingly, my partner, who's a librarian, like sent me this like WashU wide email that he got that's like already warning them that the funding cuts to research are going to result in job losses and to whatever. And some of the people they've already consolidated some positions and let some people go as of yesterday. So just the lack of faith and money being put towards like even medical research and science in general is really disheartening.
Yeah, it's been a hard pill to swallow the last 2 weeks. Really has been.
I would add politics. Is that too broad? But I mean, politics seem to be really important right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have anything to add a commonality? Rusty?
I would say that everything that you all are talking about is under the umbrella of politics. Because I'm concerned about each and every one of the things that you are all concerned about too. And that's why I'm a political activist, because all of those, I have a gay grandson, and he's been raised in love and acceptance, and that may not be the case when he's in a few years, and he's only 18. So all of the things you are discussing is under the umbrella of politics, and we as citizens should have control over those things much more than we do because of our elected officials who work for us. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and then within the commonality, you can see that how everybody's kind of interwoven together.
Yeah.
When it comes about people, it comes about protecting people. And because if you're not protecting one group, they're going to come for you next. And we should all have that passion to take care of our fellow neighbor and treat everybody as the individuals they are. So what is activism? It's the process of making sure that you are out there using your voice to bring about a political or social change. And there are different types of activism. There's advocacy. I do a lot of advocacy. We do writing letters to representatives. We lobby in Jefferson City. We spread awareness. There's direct action like the one that Rusty started to plan today with protest. There's sit-ins, there's strikes. The UAW did a strike last year. Education. So like tonight, what Alicia's doing, hosting a workshop, teaching, speaking, policy changes where you talk to your state representatives or whoever at the local and state level. Big local and state person. I never touch national people, only local and state, working with lawmakers for petitions and maybe even running for office because there's a lot of uncontested seats that people just hand to some of the worst folks in, just speaking for Missouri, just in general in Missouri, they just hand it to them because nobody will run against those people. And then there's digital activism, and that is using social media to spread awareness about petitions, campaigns. If you have a protest, if you have a workshop, you can use that digital activism to start forming a coalition of people. I know people don't like social media, but you can use social media for good. And you can log off. That's all you have to do. Log on, do something good, and log off. So there are pathways to change, and there's different types of ways to organize. So there's grassroots organizing, and that starts at the local level. That's community building. We hold meetings, we build the networks between partners. So as an example, the Missouri Equity Education Partnership started as a private Facebook group that's now a 501c3 nonprofit who was just asked this past week to help write an amendment for a piece of legislation. So that is the type of grassroots activism. When you have a group that's willing to do, you have to harness all of that energy and make sure that you're doing the meeting the goals of what your group wants to do. And Rusty is really good with that with the Conversations for Political Change group. Policy advocacy, making sure you know the laws, making sure you know what the legislators are writing, making sure that you're talking to these people and that you're pushing back. Call them. You have got to call them. I know calling sounds icky and nobody wants to talk on the phone anymore. But once you start bombarding their offices, they can no longer say, well, nobody in the community said anything to me about that. And then they do it all the time. I'm in Jefferson City and I hear it from the top of the corners of the state all around to the middle. They always say, well, nobody called my office and said that. You got to call. It all gets logged in. They cannot say you didn't call because it has to be logged by legal standards. Community engagement, making sure that you're volunteering and doing small things within the community to build this network of people and partners. You will find that there are a lot more people like you once you start getting active in the community. And of course, social media activism and using your platforms to spread awareness. I'm going to say TikTok is a pretty good place to spread fast information, especially among a certain age group. Facebook leans older because Facebook is the oldest part of social media besides MySpace, if we're all old enough to remember that. But so, I don't know, me too. So Facebook started in like 2005. So this is why it has an older social media community. The next oldest one is going to be your Instagram. And it sounds weird, but yeah, you're hitting your 30s, groups of 30s, late 20s and 30s with Instagram. And now you have TikTok, which is going to be your younger people. But I will say this, working on a congressional campaign, we had engagement scores from women, white women, 55 plus. Our engagement scores were like crazy. So there are older people on TikTok. They may not make videos, but they do engage. So keep that in mind. It's not everything's bad on social media. So if you have a piece of paper near you, or you have a computer near you, or something that you can write down, I want you to write down that one thing that you said you were passionate about. If it's healthcare, if it's politics, if it's um, uh, environment, uh, all of that. Put it in the center of the paper. Offshoot it, grassroots organizing. How can you organize in a grassroots way for that particular thing? How can you advocate for policy? How can you get a community engaged? And what ways can you use social media to amplify your message? I'm going to give you like 3 minutes just to think about it. Because this is important because I know it pertains to On Tyranny as well if you've finished reading the book.
Can you put the 3 things in the chat?
Yes. Oh, shoot. Yes. I'm going to give you one more minute. Okay, I'm just randomly going to call on someone to share. So if you didn't do your work, that's on you. I'm going to start with Amy. I don't think she heard me, did she?
Yeah, sorry. I got people talking in all of the ears. Um, so like for advocating for women's health care, right, is to be starting like a small group meetings. Especially for women who can't afford therapy, or the additional care that they need. So we could start a grassroots that way. Find some folks who are experts, in the field, whether it's medical folks that could help join or the folks, lawyers, whoever it is that can help us interpret all those things or help us understand what our insurance will or will not cover. And then just really get vocal whether we support our group, through Facebook like Alicia's Build Here with communities, or finding the places where we really can reach new moms who are struggling, that are feeling stuck at home by themselves. I think that would be the most challenging piece.
That's a really good point because there are going to be groups that have already done some work. And where is that niche that's missing? So, like moms that really are struggling, that's one of those things that maybe could be the focus. Like this group focuses on just these moms, and you're not reinventing the wheel, you're just taking the resources from other people to help. Very good point. Very good point. I'm going to move to Austin.
Okay. Did you just want me to address one of those three things or?
Just one, the one that you're passionate about, and you can talk about what you've mapped out just briefly for 3 minutes that you mapped out.
I've mapped.
Oh, well,
I haven't
come on,
really
girl.
mapped out. As far as what I'm doing with everything that's happening with the DEI council at work and stuff, right now, I'm kind of shifting my focus a little bit as far as how can I better advocate for all my coworkers, because in for-profit healthcare, yeah, it screws over the patients, but it's seriously screwing over the employees as well. We are, you know how capitalism works. They don't just make a bunch of money and then go, okay, we're just going to coast now, and this is going to be the healthcare market. It's every year. It's how do we make more profit? How do we take more? You have to eat. You can't pay us less because that's not going to happen. But they take more resources. They micromanage more. They deny our patients more. And when we're as overworked as we are, I was hoping things would get better with COVID, but they, of course, didn't. Yeah, you guys know how that ended. We can't advocate for our patients. So I think my focus right now has just been to advocate with my own people in my office. I'm teaching people how to hotline corporate compliance if they see somebody. I've had so many coworkers hotline corporate compliance. I think they're starting to figure out it was my idea. Um, I've had people, I'm the person that they call now. I'm not even the manager. They'll call me if they're like, hey, what does this mean? Is this okay? Is this legal? And I'm just at the point where all I'm doing, and I know it's not a lot, but if someone has issues, I'm just like, let's talk about this. Let's go get a drink. Let's go to dinner and just talk about this. I don't know. That's all I'm doing right now. I know it's not a lot.
No, it's not. No, it doesn't have to be. That's a simple thing. Let's go have a drink and let's talk. That builds that grassroots and that community engagement. when people can come and trust you and we can have these conversations together without the pressure of a work environment, that's meaningful, I think. Just from my own experience, I know it is. But keep doing that, Austin. That's really good. It's really good. And there's only so much you can do with your, without getting in trouble from your employer. I get it. But there are ways you can have private conversations over cocktails that cannot happen in a break room somewhere. And the last person I saw writing really hard was Rusty. I saw you writing really hard over there.
How do you know I wasn't like, doing crosswords over here? Uh, anyway, yes, well, it's because this is what I do full time almost, it seems like. Not politics and organizing, and how I started out was I worked and I didn't have a lot of time to get involved, but uh, I would go to I actually started doing this about, well, I always protested because I was a child of the 70s, and I protested for women's right against the Vietnam War. So I'm an older woman, and so I've been around the block about 100 times. So I've always been protesting, standing up to the man and fighting for my rights. So, but I never got this involved in it until I retired. And when Trump came into office in 2017, when everybody was in an uproar at that point, at the beginning, I just started going to protest by myself because I didn't have anybody else to go with. I didn't know anybody to go with. I didn't have all these group of friends that I have now. And so I just started going by myself, and I just started talking to some of the people within the group that I was showing up to protest. So I just started carrying a sign with me, and whenever I'd hear of a protest, I'd just pop in. Well, they started seeing my face more often, and I became acquainted with some people who were serious activists. Ann Taussig is one of them, Joan Lipkin. I don't know if you guys know these people, but they're closer to my age than your age, and but they've been around a long time. So I became acquainted with them, and they became my friends. And then I got to know Francine Case, who is another activist around town. And she started having postcard writing parties. This was back in 2017. And one thing led to another. So what I started doing, and I just started meeting more people who had the same kind of interest and passion that I did along the way. And I found, and what I did was, how I really got into it was I started volunteering because I'm a graphic designer. Everybody wanted me to do something graphic design, and I was happy to do that. So I began volunteering. I would volunteer doing art. And so eventually I found a lot of friends who were like-minded. And that's where I started, things started happening because I moved from being just like a participant showing up at a protest to becoming an organizer. And then we started this group Conversations for Political Change, and we have meetings every 2 weeks now, and we've been doing it for 5 years, and we have become a pretty a pretty good, well respected and well recognized voice in the activist community. And we started interviewing all the politicians who ran for office, and we started meeting. We started the meetings, the Conversations for Political Change. We started meeting regularly. We set a mission statement. But along the way, I collected like 40 friends that I didn't have before. We go to happy hours. We still write postcards. We educate each other. Like Amber knows all of this stuff that's going on in Jeff City. We educate each other on the things that the other person doesn't know. We get together on Zoom when we can. And how do we spread this? Social media, word of mouth. Everybody's got a list of emails. We share things and we work together. It's very collaborative, and I don't know that we're making a difference, but I like to think that we are. And it just started out because I started going to protest because I was tired of what was going on in the world, and I just started talking to people and volunteering. Volunteering was the key to me getting my foot in the door. So
And I'm going to piggyback off of what Rusty was saying that there's a lot of times when people they get a little anxious because they don't know what they can do. They say, well, I don't call people. I hate that. Or have mobility issues. I can't knock on doors. Or I have children and I can't do this in the evenings. And there's always something that, everyone has in their lives that says like, hey, we don't have time. We can't do this, but you do have skills. And there are little skills that every organization from grassroots to a nonprofit need a volunteer for. So like Rusty was saying, her graphic designing, that's an amazing skill to volunteer with. If you are a photographer, that's an amazing skill to have at a protest or a rally or even a meeting where you're in fellowship with your other community members. Um, Somebody that can manage a social media page takes the pressure off the other people that are doing the organizing and the calling, and it's incredibly helpful. Um, can you do some administrative assisting work? So can you do the Google Docs? Can you write a press release? Can you do a media list? Like all of those tiny little actions matter in a collective, and it takes the pressure off the group leader. And it takes the pressure off all of these activists that have like 50,000 things in their brain and they want to do all of it, but they don't have the capacity because, again, children, school, whatever that looks like. And it feels like everything falls through the cracks. But if you have a volunteer that says, hey, I'm really, really, really skilled in writing a letter to the editor. Oh my gosh, yes, come on in, we'll take you. And I think that's the thing is like everyone has these little tiny skills that are very, very, very impactful when it comes to advocacy. So there are parts of communicating and messaging, and there's an importance of storytelling. Tonight, you guys kind of started sharing your stories without you even realizing it or not when we were talking about what you're passionate about. We have Austin who says, I am part of this DEI team, and this is what we have been building, and I am frustrated here, but there are some things here that were positive. Amy, the same way, Beth, Alicia, Cindy, everyone has something, and they started telling the story. It's important when you share your story outside of a group like this. So it's very important to understand what message you're trying to convey and doing it with facts, statistics that support the argument that you're saying. And I know what you're thinking in your brain. I have come at these people with all these facts and they do not listen to me. But 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 you have to back up what you're saying with the facts. Serious people take you serious when you can back up your stuff with sources. And then you have to craft this emotional appeal and connect with an audience. When I heard somebody said the affordability of healthcare, my gosh, that affects, I'm like, most of my family. And hearing that, I was like, okay, I'm engaged. Let me listen. And keeping your messaging clear, concise, and then having an action attached to it. So how to use your social media platform for activism. You're going to choose the right platform for your audience. Like I said, Twitter, I dead named Twitter. I'm sorry. I'll continue to dead name it because I'm not an Elon Musk person. So Twitter for updates, but I think a lot of us have gotten off and have gone to Blue Sky now. Blue Sky is much like Twitter. If you're an OG Twitter person, it's very intuitive. Instagram, that's where you post your pictures and you tell the story of your pictures. Alicia does this beautiful way in her work that tells the story of women and their beauty with all of her work, and she's a visual storyteller. TikTok is for your engagement. You can do a TikTok live and you're going to get probably a couple of hundred folks on your TikTok live to have a conversation with you. And now it may not be pleasant, but they're going to have a conversation with you. And then you can engage through your discussions and your calls to action. And there are several organizations like Promo, Moeep, I'm trying to think who else is really good with their Francis How Forward. They're all really good with their calls to action post and their discussions that they have within their community. So you have to know your audience. And I'm going to go through this real fast, but you have to know your audience. So your ethos is your is what language are you using? Is it appropriate? What is your sourcing? And you have to make connections to avoid the logical fallacy. So they're going to try to trip you up and they're going to try to spin you around. You can't do that. You're going to have to stick to your topic and you're going to have to stick to these things because they're going to try to move the goalpost every single time. Don't allow them to do that. When I was in media training, when I worked for the Hillary Clinton campaign, they kept on saying, this is what media is going to say to you. You redirect the media. And so I've been really good about redirecting media because of that. Messaging, use statistics and facts. Make the connections between the concepts. So healthcare, with Black female mortality rates when it comes to maternal mortality rates. You can connect one to the other. And you should be able to do that seamlessly if you're having a coherent argument. And then your pathos is your audience, and it's okay to use your humor. Please use humor. Humor really grabs people and it engages them. My congressional candidate used humor all the time. Some people did not care for humor, but I would say 90% of the people we were in contact with, over hundreds of thousands of people during the campaign, appreciated the humor because it made you part of them. Like it wasn't so serious, it wasn't so stiff. And you can start, if you get a chuckle out of people, then they're going to want to listen to see when they're going to chuckle again. People crave it. So if you look over to the left, you're going to see that left-leaning people appeal to empathy and care. Right-leaning people, liberty, freedom, and patriotism. So when you're engaging your audiences, no matter if you're writing testimony or if you're writing something for social media, who are the audience you're trying to engage? When you just, like, I know it's sometimes you want to pull your hair out because you're like, I'm using the most logical thing and I don't understand how these people don't care about it. Well, that's because that's not what their upbringing or influences have indoctrinated them with. So appeal to their freedom. There's a lot of laws that are being, I'm not saying laws, a lot of executive orders that are being done right now that you can counteract the argument of like, oh, I love this, I love that, I love that. You can counteract that with going, well, how does this affect your pocketbook? And you start doing the things like, got to get rid of the empathy and care. They don't care. They don't do it. Just don't do it. But if you go, oh, that takes money out of your, I don't know, 401k at this percentage. And I don't think people should have the freedom to do that. It starts triggering their brain to engage, and they engage in a different way. They engage without it being being a woke liberal. They engage in it in a different context. And I think that if you start changing some language when it comes to your activism, you're going to start seeing that you're going to get a lot more independent, middle of the road minded people that starts gravitating in towards you. So briefly going to go over testifying. This is a big thing for me. I think everybody should travel to their state capital at least once and participate in testifying in front of their state politicians at least one time. And you do this because they need to see your face. Too many lobbyists are in that building that are there was somebody from Virginia like last week lobbying for a Missouri bill to dismantle like public education. I can't remember what it was, one of the many. But they came in, a lobbyist, but there wasn't anybody from Chesterfield. So that's what I'm saying. Everybody needs to show up at least once when you have the capacity to do so. And the reason why is to communicate the impact the legislation will have on you, your family, your community, your neighbors, your job. You have to communicate with them and let them see the weave in the web. And we went over through the ethos and all of that. That's where you start weaving all of that in. And then you make this personal connections with them, and you can knock on their door, and you may not agree politically, but they've seen your face in there so many times, and you've had respectful conversations that they allow you to come in, and then they give you a little bit more information than what you had originally seen like 2 weeks prior. You walk in their door now, and then they'll say, okay, I got 15 minutes. What's up? And then you start talking to them, and then they'll give you little nuggets, and then you can take those nuggets back and create your advocacy. The legislators don't know how the importance or impact of the bill unless you say so. They're doing it because they think it's the best thing ever. But until you speak up about it and what that impact is, they just don't know. And then that all becomes part of the public record in this state. And I'll say it over and over again, local and state level focus is powerful. This is where you spend your money. This is where you vote. This is where you pay taxes. It's impactful. You're on record. They can't say you weren't. So what you need to do is know your bills you're testifying for and against. Most of your organizations, I'm going to use Promo because Promo is a beautiful organization that does this very, very well. They let you know the bill. They let you know why you're testifying for or against it, or give you talking points, so why they oppose it or why they support a certain bill. Attend or watch a public hearing and take notes. There are live streamings of these sessions. The House will live stream it, video and audio. The Senate, though, only does audio. The difference between the Missouri House and the Missouri Senate: the Missouri House, you can submit testimony online. And some organizations like Sierra Club, MOEP, and Promo, we give you like one-click buttons where you can just do it, and it takes 2 to 3 minutes, maybe tops. But I forgot what I was saying. Hold on. Oh, so make sure that you know what bills you're talking on, and make sure that you're looking at the talking points from those organizations. Those are your guidance. You have a lot of people who are very passionate about this work that are different levels of education that are putting together these talking points for you. And you may not agree with it, and that's fine. Don't testify if you don't agree with that, or you can testify opposite of what the organization says. That's up to you. It's your freedom to do so. And then you need to learn about the submission guidelines. So in the state house, you have got to go back after you've submitted your testimony online. You have got to go back in your email and verify your email. If you do not, you do not get counted. So you need to know the submission guidelines, and most organizations are going to let you know that. Verify your location, your time, the date, and the rules for the hearing. This is a little tricky sometimes, because what politicians do in this state when it becomes a bill that they know they're going to have a lot of opposition to, they will only give you the exact 24 hours they have to give you to notify you. So that scrambles organizations is purposeful, because they don't want you there. And so you need to keep in contact and be a part of a volunteer or a newsletter page where people are putting out direct action saying, hey, I need all people here Tuesday morning, 8 a.m., because this House Bill 626 is on, and this is what it covers. And if you have questions, you can call the clerk, or you can call the person in your organization that's doing that, communicating. And then they have to accommodate you. So if you have a mobility accommodation that you need, or assistance that are needed, you need to call the clerk and they have to make accommodations for you to be there. And if they don't, then that's a whole other problem. And you got a lot of people in that building that will advocate for you. So the writing process. I'm going to go through this as fast as I can. So this goes for written and in-person testimony. State your name, first and last. My name is Amber Benge. Your organization, I'm from MOEP. If you are representing the bill title and the number and your position. And then you address the body. So you're like, good morning, Education Committee. I am here to blah, blah, blah. And here's an example that you can see what is missing from this testimony. We have a heading, organization. It says what I'm there for. It says the House bill number. What's missing? Anybody could unmute. Yeah.
You say whether you're for or against.
The
Do you have to
salutation.
say that in there? Or
Not
no?
yet.
Your position?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
What's
The
anybody else want to take a
salutation that's
shot?
missing.
There you go. The greeting to the body. And that's it. And once you have that greeting, when you're polite and you're respectful to the body, and matches you want to punch them in their throats sometimes, you have to be respectful or they're not going to have any conversations with you and they're going to dismiss you, move you on, and you don't get to talk to anybody. And it's sometimes better just to be like, hi, Madam Chair, even though you don't want you don't even want that person to be the chair. So it's okay. And when you're writing, you want to identify any notable elected or volunteer positions that you hold, and state your purpose of your testimony, and then state the bill number and your position. You have to state the bill number. You should be stating the bill number because you need to know what that bill is. And then you explain the impact of that and then how that affects your community, how it affects your neighbors, how it affects your organization, or how does it affect your finances and pocketbook. And you can use personal examples in your, and I think personal examples are amazing. You are the constituent. You are the person that pays their salaries, that you are sitting in front of people that you are paying to be there. So they need to listen to you, but you need to do that in a room that is courteous or in a way that's courteous. So here is another example, and I'm not going to make you read it all through. This is one of my testimonies, I think from 2021 or 22. And we were talking about, who knows at this point what bill this was. And they were against teachers, I think, teaching current events. I think that's what, I know it's wild. It's so wild. It's so wild. So I went in and talked about my experiences during Michael Brown. And then, so here are the highlighted, making sure that you're coming from a place of conversation that for the students coming to you and speaking about how they don't feel value or how they are seen by adults in their lives, it doesn't account for helping students through heartbreak, death, because they didn't want any conversations to happen between students and teachers. The teachers are just there to push information and not build relationships. That's what they want. And then this, again, I reiterated, this puts a chilling effect on teachers in the classroom where they don't want to say certain things or teach certain things because this can be considered a current event. And then now they're in trouble. But what's missing from this, if you see this first look right here, I don't know if you see my pointer, what you're trying to do with this bill, what's missing here is the bill number. So make sure what you're trying to do with House Bill blah, blah, blah is making teaching planning impossible. So make sure that you keep on saying that House Bill over and over and over again. When you're writing, you practice, practice, practice. You have to practice. It is scary when you get up there. You get a little shaky. I mean, some of us will go in with, wanting to burn down the building. So it's not so shaky for some of us. But there are people that have public speaking, like anxiety or just nerves in general, stage fright. So I suggest that you print your testimony large. I use 14-point font. And then I take another copy of the testimony that's in 12-point font so I could submit that on record, because they're going to actually ask you to submit a hard copy of your testimony. So I submit that, and then I put breaks in. So I write like 3 or 4 sentences, and then I put a large space for cadence so I can take a breath and I can regroup myself and regroup my thoughts. Because what will happen is they will ask you questions if you get them on a day that they have a little time. They will Kellyanne Conway you. So they will try to spin you around, and you have to know, you can go back to your paper, in what paragraph you said this, and you could put a little source there. According to the CDC, it said in 2024, blah, 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 blah. And you always have that information on hand. If you don't have the information, you say, I have the information, but I don't have it with me now. I will get back to your office. And I suggest getting back to their office within just a few hours, I mean, at most. I like to get it back to them within the 15 minutes of me walking out the door, and me pulling it up on my phone and sending it to them, but at least get it to them. And then practice it until it makes you comfortable. You're going to stumble on words. So erase the words. Erase those things that make you stumble or hesitate or makes you a little bit nervous to talk about. Erase them. Don't talk about them. But practice. And make sure you wear comfortable clothes. So I'm going to play a small testimony. Yeah.
Before you do that, Stacy had a question for the written testimony.
Yeah.
She put it in the chat, but do they actually read these, or do they mostly just do what they want, and that's why she's hesitated to reach out? And sometimes I feel the same. I'm like, they're not even going to read what I write. Why am I bothering? But are they like, if you submit not just like an email to their office, but if you submit testimony for a bill through that official like link, are they required to read that? What does that
No,
look like? No,
they
okay.
are not required to read it. So typically, from our members, a lot of them do just say, I oppose House Bill 123, and then submit. Because they count the numbers of oppositions and they count the numbers of fours, and they report that number. So it's important to be on the record that you were in opposition. In some instances, and it's been lately, I think it's been a little bit more common, but not super common. In some instances, if they are doing a filibuster, they will print out the testimonies and then they'll read them during the filibuster. And if you want your testimony to be part of that, maybe, but otherwise, no, they're not required to. Some might get curious and see what's being said, or clock something, or they're looking for a specific person and they want to clock them. But other than that, no, they're not. But I'm going to give you an example of a dear person, wonderful, wonderful. She is our founder. She is an amazing leader, public speaker. Her name is Heather Fleming. She does DEI work, and this is her testimony. Can you guys still see my screen? Okay. I don't know if you can hear it though. Can you hear it? Let's see what we can do.
First role that I have is that I am the founder and director of
I can hear it now.
Partnership. The next role I have is that I'm also the founder and director of In-Purpose Educational Services, which does equity work around St. Louis and around the state. The next role that I have is that I'm a former educator. I was an educator for 14 years. And then another role that I have is that I'm a taxpayer. But the role that I'm most proud of on a regular basis is my role as a mother. I am the parent to 3 beautiful children, as well as 2 bonus children, I call them. I'm here to respond because of the fact that this Parents' Bill of Rights, it makes me wonder whose rights. Because at this point, what I'm hearing is that a small minority of people will be able to make decisions about what my child will be able to have access to. And in the end, I agree totally that parents have the right and indeed the responsibility to have control over what their children learn, what their children are exposed to, etc. But they do not have the right to make that decision for me. They do not have the right to make that decision for my child. And that is exactly what these bills will do. They will empower people who do not want others to learn of my experience in America, or to learn it from my perspective, to be able to control the knowledge and to be gatekeepers of knowledge that will come to not only their child, but to my child as well. Now, we keep making reference to Marxism, and I am really concerned that a doctor is coming up.
I'm gonna cut it off because she gets cut off as well. But as you can see, so let me go back here. She stated her name. She stated her purpose. She stated what she was against. She told her story. She actually said, I am a parent. This is what I care about. One of my biggest roles in this life is that I'm a parent and I care deeply about that. So her testimony was impactful to the point that they started pushing back on her pretty hard, especially when she said the word Marxism. So that there are, when it was asked, do they actually read them? Here is the impact of that. If you see in green, it said Fleming showed up with 150 supporters to pack the hearing room. More than 1,600 emailed testimonies from, and then the vast had opposed. And they set a record for sheer written number of testimonies ever submitted. There were so many that the system actually shut down. They could not accept anymore. I think after this account, I think they were at like 2,400 and it just shut the system down completely. So it does matter. Even if they don't read them, that opposition does matter, and it makes a news story. It makes it onto the Missouri Independent. It makes it onto, I think, the Kansas City Star or whoever's there at that moment in the press. They'll pick up on it. So set some SMART goals when you're doing your activism. Be specific. Define what you want to achieve, what your passion is. What's that one thing that you're trying to do? You can't do it all. We all love a whole bunch of things. My hyper focus area is Department of Education. That's where I am. But I care about healthcare access, and I volunteer and I donate to other causes. However, this is where my focus is. So it's specific. Track the progress. That's your measurable. That's the M in SMART. Track your progress and set the milestones. So saying things like, we are going to get a group and we're going to have 25 people from our group submit testimony on this thing, or 25 people on Tuesday are going to call their state legislature. You can measure that, and then you can up those numbers and you can see what is being impactful and what is not if you start keeping track of that, and make sure that it's achievable. It's realistic. 20 testimonies is really realistic for a group, especially if it's a small group. If it's a small group of 50, if it's a small group of 10, 5 people, 7 people can really make an impact. Those 7 people count. They're taxpayers. They need their voices heard. Relevant. Align your goals with the values and your mission. So your specific goal should align with your values. If it doesn't, then why are you doing it? And make sure that it's time bound and you set deadlines to maintain this momentum. And you have to celebrate small wins. I don't know how important this is. People miss it. People miss it all the time. They go, oh my gosh, we've lost the battle. Or we've lost the war. But you've won this battle. Celebrate that. It is okay to celebrate the small wins because it builds It builds energy, it builds momentum, and people like to celebrate. They don't want to be in the doom and gloom and the scrolling and all of this negativity all the time. Just say, oh my gosh, we did this. We got our 25 people, we surpassed our goal. 26 people ended up submitting testimony. That's very important. And then I'm not going to take up any more time, but I would just want you to think of one small action that you can take this week. Can you volunteer to do a little bit of admin work for someone? Is there somebody writing postcards? Does somebody need some consulting? You're an expert in healthcare, or you're an expert in organizing. Can you help somebody and just be a consultant, an ear to listen? And then that's it. I'm going to open the floor for questions if anybody has them. I have not read the chat. I'm so sorry. But if you guys have any questions, you need me to say anything again, let me know.
Stacy had a question, wondering if public educators were able to do this sort of thing. She had it in her head that we were not supposed to, because it goes along with people not supposing to know their political leaning. Like, what are the thoughts on publicly testifying like that?
So you can testify about anything because you are a citizen of Missouri in these United States. You can do whatever you want. What you cannot do is say, I'm going to be at the Republican Party event, and we are like MAGA rallying. You can't do that kind of stuff. But this is issue based. So if there is a bill that says teachers have to pick up all the pencils on the floor every day of the school year, you can go and advocate like, hey, we are not picking up the pencils every day on the floor after school. That's not what we're going to do, because it's an issue based. I do C3 work, so I'm very mindful of political speak that comes out of my mouth when I'm in that kind of environment, not with y'all, but when I'm in that kind of environment, because they'll clock us because we're supposed to be nonpartisan. So I think I would talk to your union rep. If you have one, I would definitely not talk to your administrator, because they're all assholes anyways, unless you have a really good one. But I would definitely talk to your union rep to make sure what I'm saying to you is correct. But I'm about 95% sure if it's issue based, you can do that. Anybody else?
I want to hear about the protest for Monday that you all have organized a little bit. We'd love to hear about that, I think. What's going on?
Okay, so we are protesting it in Chesterfield, close to the Tesla facility on Boone's Crossing and Chesterfield Airport Road, in that space by Sonic and the Five Guys, that public space where there's the grassy knoll, there's the stoplight. It's lots of traffic typically, and especially on President's Day when people are off work and school. That's where we're going to be holding signs, peaceful protest, no blocking traffic, things like that.
What time?
Well, here's I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, go
Ann,
ahead. Go ahead.
If you would like to know how this developed, because you're talking about, being activist and volunteer, just it developed very quickly. I don't know if you guys watch the news or how closely you pay attention to what's going on in the world, but it's hair on fire time, and every day counts right now, in my humble opinion, to save our democracy, because it's really it's being dismantled every second of the day right now. And so we had a meeting this morning, our Conversations for Political Change had a meeting this morning. So every week before we have a meeting, on Monday morning before we have a meeting, we have an agenda meeting between the co-leaders, which is myself and 3 other women. And we were talking about what we should present on the agenda this week. And I mentioned that in the back of my mind, I went to a protest last week at 8:30 in the morning in the rain downtown to, Schmidt and Hawley's office, and there were 50 people that showed up, which astonished me. and there were a lot of people have been telling me that they want to do something because they are afraid and they want to push back. So we decided in this meeting just Monday morning that we would present it to our group today, who we were meeting at 10 o'clock this morning. And we had 26 people show up, which is a pretty good sized meeting for Wednesday morning. And we brought it up and they were all eager to do this. So by the end of the meeting, 12 people hung back after the meeting was over with. This is how things develop very quickly. We decided on the place. We were talking about places to go. Somebody suggested, let's protest in front of Tesla because it's a President's Day protest against Trump and Elon Musk. So if you're not a Democrat, I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you or step on your toes or anything, but this is how it developed. We are very passionate about this. And so we decided, so somebody mentioned, well, let's protest in front of Tesla because it's President's Day and all the offices are closed. So it'd be useless to go to an office that nobody was there anyway, or a city hall where nobody was there. So we tried to think of a good place. Well, somebody said Tesla, and we all went, yeah, why not? And so Chesterfield has a Tesla place, and I'm not very familiar with it because I live in New City, and going west of Lindbergh, my nose starts bleeding. I just get very confused out there, and so Amber said, let's do here. And somebody said, let's do here. Well, it turns out we're going to a more populous spot, which is not that far from the Tesla place. So the hope is, in my mind, that those who are able to kind of take a walk down to the Tesla place as a protest, just walk down the street, very peaceful, show them our signs. Here's the sign I had last week that I made for the protest last week, which is, why does Elon Musk have my social security number? It's a good question for everybody in America right now, even, a baby. So, and it made the news. I mean, the Post-Dispatch came right over to me and they interviewed me and it got in the news. So these are the things that we were doing. So we're going to go there. We hope people show up. We're Indivisible St. Louis and Indivisible We Will Persist Conversations for Political Change, and St. Louis County Dems are Democrats are joining us. So it's a joint effort by all four groups. This morning, this time, or 12 hours ago, none of this was materialized. We have a place, we have graphics, we have promo. Amber wrote a press release, which was fabulous. I wanted to lick the screen. It was so delicious. And I made a poster. We're doing promos. All of this developed in a matter of hours.
And this is the prime example of how you can use your skills in little ways to make something happen. Everybody used a skill set. It wasn't all dependent on a group.
No.
It was everybody coming together says, I have this skill, let me put it here. And then it was done and it was fast.
It's 12 people. Yeah.
And before I leave, I just want to say, do not comply in advance. Do not comply in advance.
Stand out.
Stand out, be part of the
Number
conversation,
8.
be part of the noise.
Stand out. Number 8.
What time is the protest on Monday?
Well,
11:30 a.m.
11:30.
Should I share the poster with them? Because
Yes, you should.
Yeah,
have you
sure.
approved it? Have you approved it, Amber?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. Share that in the chat if you can. But then also DM me if you don't mind, or text me, either way. And then I'll make an event in the community building group for it as well, for anybody who wants to go. So I'll put all that info in there.
Great.
And maybe I'll make you a co-host in case Logan is sick or God knows or whatever. Who knows? Like I have a toddler, you don't know. If I feel like I can handle my toddler and it's going to be cold, and my camera, I'll bring my camera and take some photos, but I don't want to promise that just in case it's too much for the kid and the photos.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'll bring it and see.
Yeah, and whoever wants to donate some time and skills or whatever, like, hey, I'm going to write a letter to the editor about this protest happening. by all means, like bring it on.
Well, yeah, and we can certainly, I mean, a very easy step would be for everyone to grab the flyer and then share that on their social media, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the easiest thing in the world, right? Click share, done.
It says, how long will y'all be out there? I think the goal is to be out there for about 2 hours. That's the goal, but it's cold. We want people to dress warm, have hand warmers, take care of themselves. There's plenty of parking because it's that shopping center lot in Chesterfield. I don't know if y'all ever go out there. But it's like by the Lowe's, like right across, like when you go to the factory and you cross the road and that shopping center, it's right over there in that area. So there's plenty of parking and it's accessible.
Okay. Awesome.
If you guys need to get in touch with me, I am on social media. Alicia knows how to get in touch with me.
Well,
Thank you
so
guys for
what
allowing me here.
what time is it?
The protest is 11:30 on Monday. And I
Uh,
think Rusty was going to, oh, she left. I thought she was going to share the
I
flyer.
think she got frozen. I saw her froze.
Oh, shucks. Okay. I will make sure to share. I will make a group in the community building with skills. I'll make an event in the community building with schools. Oh my God, I can't talk. I'm tired. I'm going to make an event in the group that'll have all the details for the flyer they made. So Rusty, I think she said, and if she doesn't, Amber, one of you just DM it
Yeah,
to me.
we got
And then
you.
I'll make an event in the group. And then Cindy, you should be able to go. Do you know how, like, if you're in
so
the group,
I have to work, so I was just kind of wondering, but I work all day, so
you work on Monday? Okay.
yeah.
So it's
I'll
at
be okay.
11:30, so you might be able to sneak out a bit for lunch.
Well, I'm in the city, so
Yeah.
There are
well,
multiple other protests happening all around the city too. I think
yes.
there's one for the Hispanic community. There's one for something else, and ours is out in West County. One of the
Yeah.
people said West County really needed to see a protest.
I think that leads to a really good question of how do people find out that these events are happening?
Honest to goodness, we find out through social media. It's and word of mouth. That's the building of your community. Get in contact with some activists in your area, and then you'll start seeing these events pop up a little bit more in your feeds. You can also reach out to people like Rusty, myself. Alicia stays in tune with a lot of this stuff too. Sometimes Austin does, but she works a lot as well.
So then how would we reach out to you or Rusty, like on social media or?
You can reach out to me on social media and I will drop my email in the chat for you.
I will also give you my my phone number. I neglect checking my emails as often as I should. So, but I check my texts as soon as they come in.
Yeah,
So
because
that's
I like what you're talking about, Rusty, and yeah, I'd like to talk to you further
sure,
regarding what you guys do. Yeah.
sure. And just text me and we can talk. I'd be happy to talk to you.
Oh,
And
great, thanks.
my Zoom app just all of a sudden said, I'm going to update you. I'm like going, it just shut down on me.
Well, I'm
So,
gonna leave y'all to do your thing.
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you guys for allowing me in your space and having me here tonight. And if you
Thank
guys
you,
have any
Amber.
questions, just shoot me an email.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you, Amber. And, we'll be in connection very much. So I imagine in the next, day or so, but look at that poster I just sent. If it's all okay with you, then I can share. Thank you. Okay. Well, anyway,
Cool. Yeah. Share the poster in the chat here. I'm going to stop our recording so that we have just that class, and then I'll restart for the book club for whoever might be hanging around for that. So I'm going to do that, Rusty, while you share the flyer.
let me see if it's